Hi everyone, it's Deb from Locked Up with History and Geelong Gaol Museum and Twisted History here today. I have a story I want to tell you today, and I wanted to show you while I'm in the jail, one of my favourite places. And it's to do with a couple of our old convicts who were very tricky and wily old people. Their names were Clarke and Christy Farrell. And they managed to perform one of the most infamous breakouts from this jail in 1889. Now, this was, we believe, Josh Clarke's cell. So we're down in the East Wing. Today it's number 27, but back in 1889, this was cell number 6. And what they managed to do by this trapdoor that wasn't working very effectively, they managed to break out of that and be able to get out of their cells. But one of the tricky parts about it is how they managed to get out of the cell is that Josh Clarke managed to make a skeleton key from just by sight, by looking at what the guards had. And through that, they were able to open the doors. Now, once he opened his door, he then went across the way to one of these cells across here, and he let Christy Farrell out, who then went and hid back here behind this staircase. So you can see your staircase there. So he hid here. And what Clarke then did was he called for the warder on duty overnight. Now, there's only one warder on site overnight. The guy, that name happened to be Warder Kane. He came, Clarke demanded to be given some water. And even though he didn't really have to, Kane decided to keep the peace. He'll go and give him some water. So while he was away, that was when they broke out of their cells. And when they came back, as he went to pass the water through the trapdoor, they grabbed his hands and Christy Farrell came up behind him and threatened to bash his brains out. Now, they managed to take the water down to the kitchen where they hog-tied him to a table, and he wasn't found there until 6 a.m. the next morning. Now, Clarke and Farrell took off. They managed to get out. They threw the skeleton key away, and I'll get back to that little bit of the story in a moment. And they both headed off sort of towards Ballarat. Eventually they would split up. They were both recaptured within about 2 or 3 weeks. Now, when they came back, there was this whole inquiry into how they escaped. In fact, the governor of the jail at the time, which was Henry Penninger, I believe, he was put out to pasture early. The chief warder was also asked to retire, and George Kane was actually demoted to ranks with his. So everybody was punished for these two old guys getting out. And this is despite the fact that Clarke and Farrell at the inquiry would say that it wasn't his fault, like there was no way that he was going to get away. Now, one of the things to remember is these guys at this time were in their 60s. Like, they weren't young boys. So they managed to get out. They used scaffolding that was near one of the walls to get out. But the interesting story about the keys, now we believe that they threw away the keys. No one's ever been able to find this skeleton key. But when they were demolishing the Supreme Courthouse next door in the 1930s, there was a key discovered in the grounds, which was a key that would have opened every single cell in this jail in 1889. One other real cool thing that happened after they escaped is see these bars across the trapdoor. That was brought in as a direct result of the escape of Clarke and Farrell.